People sometimes think that if they say something negative, or say something that has a negative impact on someone else, they think it's a bad thing, and you develop a pattern of starting to just avoid it. And in men, it's a very typical example of, oh, when I say I'm going to do this or I want that, or you give a certain piece of feedback, if there's a negative reaction from their partner, they go, oh, fuck it, I'm just never going to say it ever again. Do you come across stuff like this in your practice with your clients or with people that you deal with in workshops and stuff?
Yeah, I think it's a very common reaction. It's like, I didn't want to tell them because I knew they'd be angry or I knew they'd be worried or upset, right? And then it becomes you be trying to take responsibility for somebody else's reaction. And then in essence, in some ways, I think of it as robbing them of an experience of life, right? Because you're saying, I'm predicting you will not handle this well, and therefore I will not meet you with whatever communication or action is actually what I want to say or actually what I want to do. I won't give you the opportunity to actually react. I'll just guess how you're going to react and act accordingly.
And I guess one of the potential downsides to that is if you keep on not saying what you're feeling, if you keep not expressing what you're feeling, if you keep avoiding the conversation that you really want to have, inevitably it's going to drive distance. It's going to cause disconnect. And if you let that go for long enough, then you're in such different places. And another element to the robbing the other person of the experience of life, you're also robbing the other person from being able to grow with you. Because if you don't give the feedback, then you get to a point where, maybe your partner thinks that, well, I know how they feel and they don't really have an opinion about that, but actually you have this deep-seated opinion about it, but you just never said anything about it. So then in me, I would breed resentment because you don't understand me and you're just sort of clueless, right?
And we get further and further apart in terms of who I think you actually are, because you're showing me this onion layer 27 of who you are, and the inside self is actually not showing forth as honestly or as truly as actually is, right?
I think part of the issue is that it's not quite so simple, right? That by not saying the thing that I think is going to piss you off, I'm trying to help the situation. I'm not trying to be a dick, right?
Yeah.
So it's not exactly an easy thing to navigate. How would you?
Well, I mean, we've been there before, right? Like all the times where one of us was too anxious or too angry in that phase, and then the other one started overprotecting, right? Like, I won't say certain things. And then, it gets us to a point where I have so much to say and it's all brimming, and then something small like pokes that surface and I go, and just have this huge outburst. And it's because I've just been trying my best to hold it in to protect you, right? Or protect us, when in reality, maybe it wasn't that protective, right? But it's always the issue of when, like when to talk about it. When's the right time to talk about it? And when you're busy parents, it feels like there never is a right time. So then I feel like what it always ends up being is you have to intentionally create a time, right? And it's never going to be a good time. So you intentionally create a moment, and it's not going to be perfect, but you just come with the right intentions.
I think if you try and create the right moment and both parties have the understanding that, look, we're just going through a lot right now, there is no better moment. I trust that if she's bringing it up now, it's because it needs to be brought up. And if it's kept under ground any longer, it's going to become a bigger issue.
Right?
I feel like ever since becoming parents, we've had to sort of be forced into a position to be more understanding of where we are. And okay, even if I'm not feeling fully ready to receive the information, that layer that used to be there when we were in our 20s of like, I can't believe she's fucking bringing this up right now. Like that layer of like she's not thinking about me enough. Don't you know what I'm going through? Like that sort of like temper tantrum sort of layer.
Mm.
I feel like it's not really there anymore. But I don't think we necessarily actively worked on that. It just became a thing that it became obvious that that needed to go once we had kids around, because there's no time for that type of bickering, right?
Mm.
So I
Mm.
think in that sense, having kids helped us grow up in that way, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I also think when you intentionally set aside the time, you kind of like prepare yourself emotionally and mentally for it. And you try,
Such a good
well, we
point.
try to come to it with this thought of, let me try and be the most understanding partner I can be, right? Whereas in normal life, we're like more, maybe a little bit more reactive, a little bit
What's the
more like,
face?
but if we intentionally do it, then we're like, oh yeah, like we come with that vibe of like I want to be understanding.
Ready to work on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I think helps a lot. Like if
Mm.
when we get in those moods, I'm so happy because I'm like, oh great, we can share everything now.
Mm.
But then in the moments where it's not, you do feel a bit scared
Mm.
of getting a reaction, right?
Yeah, so such an important theme, the set and setting thing. It made me think about a men's coaching client I had back in the day, where one of the issues was every time he was trying to do the work of, I'm going to open up now, I'm going to start sharing how I feel. And sort of issue number one was, I'm going to wait until so much has built up. So you talked about this just now. So much has built up, and then when it comes out, it explodes out. Or in some cases, it comes out with so much emotion, and it's the first time that your partner has ever seen you cry, and now you're yelling, and the first time that they have heard you talk about your upbringing and your patterning and the stuff that you're pissed off about, and it becomes very overwhelming,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I remember one of the things that we worked on is exactly that. It's not a super complicated thing. It can be almost like vulnerable in a way that is inviting versus intimidating.
Mm.
And it can be phrased like, hey, so I've been trying to do the work of opening up more. Truthfully, I don't know how this is going to go because I don't fully know how I feel about this.
Mm.
So I'm hoping that later this week we can spend some time together and we can sort of explore this together. And even if you want to go to the extent of, I apologize in advance if it's like super haphazard and a little bit chaotic, because I'm just trying to take the steps.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you can sort of meet me halfway, and if we have to land on a bunch of like half complete thoughts and then we work on it over
Mm-hmm.
time, like that's fine also,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not like we need to come with fleshed out
Mm.
solutions of how the next quarter is going to go, right?
And also doesn't need to get to these very final conclusions. I feel
Mm.
like that's
Oh, that's
something we
interesting.
often go into things thinking, oh, but what's the conclusion? And, what's the solution now? When I think sometimes things just are an open conversation and conclusions. It's nice if there's a action plan, but they can't always be. Sometimes it ends with, okay, let's talk about it again
Mm.
next time.
Yeah. I think case in point is ever since second kid came along for us, it's been very difficult to build the time in to talk and figure out where we stand on things. And we've run into this a couple of times in the last few months of, we're trying to prioritize the date night, and then there's a sleep issue or there's a sickness or something
Mm.
happens, or sometimes we get to that day and we just have no more energy.
We're both like, should we just watch
Yeah.
Netflix
And
instead?
like obviously the textbook answer will be, no, we need to do this work on the relationship, but a lot of times it doesn't go that way because the real life doesn't permit. And this is one example of, in our lives, okay, we both know we need to do something about this. We haven't quite figured out the new pattern, but we're both sort of like trying to figure it out together, but in a, like, we're trying not to make it like a super high pressure thing.
Mm.
But that's a really practical example that's going on right now,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. But when I come to you and I obviously have a lot of built up emotion of things that I want to say to you,
Mm.
how does that feel to you?
If it's been building up a long time and then it's
You
kind of
can tell it's like, I've been holding things and then I like ask for like, can we
yeah,
can we talk through some stuff? Like how
definitely intimidating.
mm,
Definitely bracing myself a little bit of like, oh, a little bit of like, oh, here we go.
mm,
So the prep time matters because then I have to go from sort of like regular programming of, oh, here we go, to, okay, let's remember she's probably not trying to ruin your day with this onslaught that's coming. And then I have to do the scaling thing, right? I have to do what she communicates might sound like a level 10 to me. It might be like a level 6 or 7. It's just with the built up intensity. I know how you function and it sort of like comes out a little bit aggressive. So actually having the lead time of like, hey, 2 nights from now, we're gonna put the kids with the parents and then we'll have some time to like in a chill
mm,
way go through this, then it gives me the time to
mm.
calibrate things.
It's so funny because I feel like for me, I wouldn't want the lead time. Like if you said, "Oh, I want to talk to you about something," I'd be okay. What is it like? Tell me now. And it's funny because we just function so differently, right?
Yeah, I feel like one of the things I continue to face that I'm a bit better at now is I think some people in the world, like you, process emotions very quickly and also out loud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
by
So so
talking.
so
Yeah.
so what I've noticed is that when you have a set of feelings, you can very quickly connect it to what might be going on and potential like adjustments that need to be made, and even quite specific on what boundaries have been crossed and that you need addressed. Whereas I think other people like me, okay, I have this feeling about something you just said or did. I don't know what it is, but I acknowledge that this shit ain't right, and I need some time to either journal about it or just think about it. And sometimes it's like 20 minutes,
Mm,
sometimes it's 5 minutes, though sometimes it's a bit longer. And I think that probably will come up as an issue for a lot of couples, right?
mhm.
Because if you have different processing
Yeah,
speeds and different processing styles,
yeah,
where you prefer to talk out loud,
yeah,
to work on it out loud, and
yeah.
I prefer to just fucking shut up and leave me alone. Let me think about it. Let me think about it, and then when I come to you, I will sort of present how I feel without all the collateral damage.
Mm,
And I think that's a learned pattern,
mhm,
because in the past I would go from something happened, this is my reaction, I would go straight away. And because I'm quite a fiery person, my reaction would always cause too much damage. And then I would like let it out. And then once it was out, I was like, oh, okay, like that was a bit much, right? Yeah, so I've learned to sort of don't say that. Like, don't send the message, don't call the person, don't yell at the person, just give it some time and think about it.
mm.